Just a second. It's a little choppy on my side, but yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah, I think, here we are. Good morning, Ayn.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. A pleasure.
So, as you know, I'm reaching out to different facilitators from Vegan Omfest, which took place almost 3 months ago already, January 25, 26.
All right.
And yeah, just so checking in, seeing what everyone's up to, how they've been managing these past few weeks that have been super, super strange for everybody. So yeah, I spoke to Ojas and Anne. I didn't realize Anne was actually in Japan, and from
Hmm.
TikTok. I thought she was in Cebu. So it's amazing how we can really still stay connected. Kahit na we have to stay home. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so I just have a few questions for you. First of all, can you just fill us in on what you've been busy with ever since end of January? So the past 3 months, you've been here in Cebu.
Oh yeah, time went by so fast. I can't believe it's been 3 months since the Omfest. Yeah, basically after the Omfest, I think a week after the Omfest, I left for India to
Okay.
go study with my teacher again. And it was a 3-week course with Sri Vatsara Ramaswamy, my teacher in Vinyasa Krama. And yeah, it's always amazing to learn with him. I enjoyed it a lot, a lot. And yeah, I had 2 weeks after the training before my flight back home. So I was thinking of maybe going to Sri Lanka since it's like an hour's flight away from Chennai where the training was. But then I found this like $10 flights to Kerala, and I've always wanted to explore Ayurveda as well. So for those of you guys who are not familiar with Ayurveda, it's yoga's close cousin, which is more of the therapeutic side. And Kerala is like the hub of it for India. So
Oh,
I wanted to go there, study a little bit of some herbs and mostly just Ayurveda in general, because I don't know much about it yet. And yeah, it turned out to be a very very nice trip, one of the best I've had yet. Well, technically my traveler side took over and there wasn't much studying about Ayurveda, and it was mostly traveling to Munnar, like a beautiful place, beautiful state in India. And yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I got back, I think, a week before the quarantine.
wow.
So yeah, so I just beat it by a week, which
Wow.
is good. Otherwise, I'd be stuck in India right now.
Yeah. So, I want to know more about. I know you have the travel blog, but how many times have you been to India?
Um, it was my third time.
Okay,
Yeah, it was my third time this year.
so all of your yoga training was done there in India.
No, not all. The first one I did in India, in Rishikesh. Yeah, everyone knows Rishikesh. It's the yoga capital of the world. And the other trainings I did one in Kota Kinabalu. In Singapore, I did one as well for the 50-hour Gokul Hatha with my other teacher, Gokula Chandra. And then I did his 200-hour, a more intensive one in Kota Kinabalu last year, right before my first Vinyasa Krama training. So I did back-to-back trainings last year. And then this year I went back to Chennai to study with, I'm just trying to study as much and learn as much as I can with Ramaswamy.
So, as you know, you're one of like my favorite yoga teachers in Cebu.
Thank you.
And I think I don't know if it's because you've actually had this, like international level training. I'm curious about like how did you get into yoga and how did you get because you're one of the very few teachers who's done overseas. I did my yoga teacher training here in Cebu.
Hmm.
So yeah, so you're really one of the very few, I think maybe there are a handful who've done overseas training. So how did you get into yoga and then how did you like sign up to how did you end up in Rikisha? Yeah.
Rishikesh, yeah.
Rikesh,
Oh,
Rikesh.
yeah, I get asked this question a lot, how I started.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. I like telling the story, but yeah, a lot of people don't know, but back in college, I was playing for the college basketball varsity
Okay.
in University of Southern Philippines, and so after I graduated, I was like, I need an activity to keep me fit. Otherwise, I'd still be eating like an athlete and not working out as much. So yeah, I continued to go to the gym, and I didn't want to bulk up as well. So I lifted weights every other day, and I did cardio every other day. But the cardio I did was just pretty much just anything I can think of during that day. It could be running, it could be swimming, boxing, basketball, whatever. And I think Alex, the other, yeah, but Alex, he's my first teacher, and he invited me. It was like because we used to train together. We used to lift
So
weights
when
together.
was this?
Alex,
When was this?
oh,
How
this
long
was
ago?
2014,
Okay.
early 2014, and since it was my cardio day, Alex was like, "Oh, why don't you come over and try yoga?" And I was like,
He was at a studio. There were what
"No,
yoga
this was
was
in the gym. This was in
Ah,
holiday.
okay, 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 okay.
So we used to lift weights there together, and
Okay. Holiday,
yeah, he taught yoga there, and it was like, yeah, why don't you try
yeah.
yoga instead of doing boxing? I think I was gonna do boxing that day, and I was like, no, that looks boring. There were like 4 or 5 people in class, all girls, and I was like,
And it's not so much when you think of yoga, you don't really think cardio, except for maybe power. Yoga,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I didn't know anything about yoga at the time, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. I mean, I'll try it once just because he said so, and we trained together. And like second down dog, and I was sweating my ass off. I don't
Oh
know if I can say
wow.
that here, sorry, but
It was a vinyasa,
it
vinyasa.
was vinyasa, yeah.
Mm,
But even down dog, I
yeah.
mean, with being an athlete with tight hips and hamstrings and everything's just tight, and I was like, okay, this
Wow.
is not easy at all.
Cool.
And yeah, I just kept going to class. Maybe I did it for like twice a week, 3 times a week. And after like a month or two of going 3 times, 4 times a week, um, I started to study with Veer. Veer was my other teacher, and he's from India as well. I still visit him often. And yeah, I got introduced early on when I started yoga. I got early on to the facets of yoga other than asanas or other than the physical part of it. So I got introduced to pranayam. That was the very first workshop I did with him. It was pranayam and some meditation and the philosophy of it. And
Okay.
yeah, now I'm here.
So how did you end up in Rishikesh?
Yeah, so after about a year of studying with Veer, he left and he and his wife Claire went back to India. And I was like, okay, now where do I go? Because I've never studied with any other teacher before or after that. And so I was kind of lost.
Wow.
So I was just exploring. I went to different studios to just practice yoga, and then 2 years, like exactly 2 years after I first went to a yoga class, I decided, okay, I'm gonna go to India. This is I don't know. It was just I was just drawn to it.
So when
So
did you go first go to India?
2016, that was my first teacher training. Actually, it was sort of an accident how I found that school because I was just researching and then I was asking Veer, oh, who's your teacher in Rishikesh? And he mentioned a name Mahesh. And then when I did my research, I was somehow the browser took me to this website of a school and it had Mahesh, but I found out that it wasn't the same Mahesh that he learned from, but it turned out to be amazing. It was a blessing in disguise.
Wow.
It was a really good training, and yeah, I would do it over again if I had the chance.
That's really interesting. So here's a question about, I also love to travel, but I've never been to India.
Mhm.
And earlier I was talking to Ann Dala, who's in Japan, and we were kind of not so much comparing, but just noticing, how the Japanese are and how what's happening in the Philippines. And so it's
Right.
just cultural differences. And
Mhm.
I've been in Japan, so I can relate, but how, how do you feel like, what's it like in India? Like, are the people? Do you feel like they're similar to Filipinos, or like in terms of? Were you
That's
shocked? Did you have a culture shock?
it wasn't much of a culture shock since I've done a bit of traveling before I went, so I didn't really have any expectations, and I just knew that what they show on TV is different. But India is like different personalities in the same country. You know what I mean? It's like,
So big, or what do you mean?
yeah, because it's so big and it's so diverse,
Yeah.
and people are different from state to state. They have different beliefs, they have different practices, they have different traditions, and yeah, I mean, they don't show it a lot on TV, but some of the nicest people I know are Indians, especially in that recent trip that I did. I've met some of the nicest people ever in all my travels.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I think I wrote something about this way back, or I think that was last year when I went after my training. I think I was traveling in the desert parts in Rajasthan. And I would describe India as sort of like, I mean, the entire country is like, sort of like yoga. I
Wow.
could compare it to yoga, where everything you see is just chaos, and everything outside just looks very chaotic and disorganized and whatnot. But in the midst of that, there's peace.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you just find it there. You feel it. You know, you externally you feel like it's very chaotic and all, but it's overwhelming to say the least. But deep within, you just feel that certain peace and spirituality. I'm sure you know that. You know that feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I would compare it to. I was like, okay, this
I mean,
it's
not only that, but because I've never been there, but I know that Indians are, it's like part of their culture and part of their DNA, this the yoga, the precepts of, they're very attuned to energy, to
yeah, it,
spirituality. Like it's really
yeah,
part of their practice.
it's
Yeah.
awesome. I love it.
Okay, I
I
can
love
tell you're
it.
really in love with India. That's beautiful. I'm actually hoping to. Yeah, I might have an opportunity to visit. You never know. My plans are like all over the place as well.
And
So
I'm not gonna even start talking about food. It's,
yeah, let's hope. I have my list of questions. Yeah, yeah, we could do that another time for a travel interview or something. So so yeah, so you've been here in Cebu. I noticed you started doing the online class. You've been teaching. After your trip, you came back, and oh, it was quarantine right away. Okay, okay. So you
yeah,
had
it was a week. Yeah, I had like 5 days to teach before I stopped
yeah,
teaching. I actually
yeah.
stopped teaching before they asked me to. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this.
So do you have a regular class online at the moment, or
No,
okay?
no. Right now I'm just winging it. Really, I mean, I don't even plan my day. Well, I never do anyway. But the only thing that's regular right now is my daily practice schedule. I
Yeah,
mean, it was regular. It
yeah,
was already regular, but right now I practice between like 4 to 8, and I just adjust from there. And yeah, it's been really good. I've had good practices for the past few weeks, or ever since the quarantine started.
so your personal practice is 4 hours a day, right?
Oh, not really 4 hours. Sometimes I practice 2 hours. Sometimes I practice three. Sometimes I do four. But yeah.
And you also, I'm actually asking you because I my practice has deepened ever since quarantine. Like I'm never ever home usually, and so I've been 6 weeks at home. So I've had more time to do yoga, meditation, etc. But I don't have a set time really. Like I feel sometimes I try to do it in the morning, but then I end up doing it some other time. So you have a specific, you scheduled it into
Yeah,
your
yeah,
day like that, which might
yeah.
be that might be a good way to start like self-discipline, right?
Right, right. And to us, because my teacher Ramaswamy would constantly remind us that, yeah, since we're doing sun salutations, it might be better if we're actually looking at the sun,
Yeah,
or facing the sun's direction, since it's a namaskar to the
yeah.
sun anyway. So that's why we usually, like, a few days ago, what was that? Yes, 2 days ago, we did a session with my teacher, a 2-hour session. So he chanted all the chants about the sun, the Aruna, we call that the Aruna chants, along with performing 32 sets of sun salutations. So to them, sun salutations is not just a warm up to yoga. It's salutations to the sun. It is what it is. So that's what I'm trying to do as well. So it's either I do sun salutations before sunrise or before sunset. And so, yeah, if I do it before sunset, I face west. If I do it before sunrise, I face east. So by the time the sun sets, I've already done my sun salutations. Then I can go on with my practice.
So you do sun salutations every day.
Yeah, yeah. And
I hate sun salutations.
no, but I mean, I'm gonna send you a link to that video he posted. He actually, I mean, teacher, I mean, can't I can't actually explain it as well as he does, but he explains the chants, what it's about, and why we need to salute the sun. And
Oh, I mean, I know it's like beneficial and I know I need it and it's so transformative, but wow, it's one of the more challenging. Really, it is. Like people would constantly ask me to join you 108, and I'm like,
no,
there's no
actually,
way.
don't do that. In this tradition that I practice now, in the Krishnamacharya tradition, as much as possible, we try not to strain the heart.
Yeah.
So we try to stay as relaxed as we can. We move very slow. So
Yeah, I always think of that cue that you give. It's such a delicate, it's a fine line, no, between like finding your edge and then going beyond that edge, and then
yeah,
it takes a quiet mind to connect to your heart and to like, okay, is it over or is it?
exactly. Yeah.
It's really really interesting, and so I started doing this Kundalini Kriya set. I'm on day 7, and I really I overheat. We start with leg lifts, like 108 leg
Uh-huh.
lifts, and I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? So it's such an interesting exploration because every day is different, and I'm sure it's the same with the sun salutations. I don't know why I just have a blockage with that. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a really nice practice. Each school of yoga, the traditional schools at least, they have their different ways of doing the sun salutation.
Yeah.
Some are quite similar to the others, some are different, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we do it with chants. We call it samantraka, which is doing sun salutations with chants, basically
You're
just.
chanting while you're doing the posture.
Yeah, yeah. Ideally, that's how it goes. If you've read yoga books about it, there's a certain chant to every move. There's ideally 12 steps in the sun salutations, and you do a chant for each one.
So you've never done that here in Cebu. I've never
No.
heard you chant. Why is that?
Well, first of all, I don't want to say it wrong, and I haven't like memorized it by heart.
Okay.
So usually, that's what we do. We listen to our teacher chant it.
Okay.
But if we do the entire chant, it's like 132
Okay.
paragraphs.
Yeah. Because in Kundalini yoga, chanting is a huge part, and I actually love that part.
Right.
So, yeah.
Because
it's
that's the thing. Since we're at this is one thing, because this is a big misconception right now. When we say mantra, mantra literally means to if you dissect the word, it literally means to liberate the mind. That's what mantra means. But right now, people confuse mantra with affirmations. You know what I mean? Oh, this is my mantra for today. No, but mantra comes from the Vedas. You know, it's not just something we come up like, okay, I'll be healthier today. Those are affirmations. Those are different ones. You know, so yeah, mantra chanting is just it's part of the practice, really.
Yeah, because it's sound healing, right? Like our body becomes
Yeah.
an instrument,
Right.
vibrational. Yeah, so it's energy healing also. Yeah.
Right. So it's not
Cool.
just anything we come up with.
What's that? Sorry, what?
It's not just anything that we come
Oh,
up with.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
but
actually,
affirmations is also something different people can practice.
yeah,
It's
right.
actually a yoga practice for sure. Yeah. So, let's see. I'm looking at my questions here. So, I mean, you're here in Cebu, and I'm sure you've connected to the collective anxiety and fear and just stress. And what advice would you give if you had for anyone, especially I would say non-yoga practitioners, because of course if you already have a yoga practice, then it's easier, I feel, to anchor. But what about newbies? Like,
Stay away from social media.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but really, yeah, we usually watch what we eat, what we breathe, what we drink, but we tend to forget what we take in our minds and from the other senses. And most of the time, these are not very helpful to us, at least in our journey. We read a lot of negative news. There's so much negativity, especially during these times, and it's not helping. You can do a lot of things that I just remembered when I was last year. I went to an Ayurveda doctor, so I had sort of a diagnosis, and I had my doshas checked and all that. And one thing that stuck with me was that um, this Ayurveda, he's quite a popular Ayurveda doctor in Rishikesh, and one thing that he said towards the end of the consultation was, go to sleep with a positive mindset, because everything else follows. You go to sleep positive, you wake up positive, everything else follows. Your body, your mind, your emotions, everything else follows. So now if you take in a lot of negativity and you don't have much control over your mind, then you'll probably wake up negative as well, and then that messes up your entire system, your entire being, for that matter. So yeah, I mean, some things are beyond our control. I know it's hard to find something positive about what's happening right now, but if you can,
Try.
stop. Just tell yourself, as soon as you get to that point where you tell yourself to stop. And I think O just mentioned this in the Omfest, respond instead of react. So yeah, I mean, that would be my advice to everyone right now. Just tell yourself to stop, take a deep breath, and go on with respond. That's it.
And I think with practice, it gets easier now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Easier. So now it's the perfect time to practice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but
so
yeah.
I just wanted to make a comment about social media, and I have to say I've been spending a lot of time on social media, but I feel like there's been a shift over the past few weeks. That when we started with the quarantine, it was really like a tsunami of negativity, and I don't know if I was able to like maybe unfollow or block off a lot of stuff, or if it's people that are also slowly settling into a groove. But I feel like there's been a bit of a improvement somehow.
Right.
So I also feel like social media is really a neutral tool, in the same way energy is also neutral.
Right.
So I feel like that's why I was actually inspired by Anne's initiative. She's in Japan, but she's doing this, and other there are lots of healing circles coming up, and course, I attended your Zoom class as well, and it's really up to each one of us to choose how to use social media and to filter what comes through. So I think
yeah, I agree. That's yeah, filter. That's the right word.
yeah.
Filter.
So I think you should do a regular class online.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
Following, I'm just saying. Yeah. So anyway, that's I just stuck that in there. Okay. So this question's a little trickier. It's we're celebrating Earth Day this week, and I have personally a lot of ideas about the pandemic and our relationship to Mother Earth and all this, and I wanted to know like your thoughts about what's going on, like on a more big
Yeah,
picture.
I haven't really thought about this.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I haven't really analyzed.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, this is another thing that stuck with me from the recent training I did. Usually I like analyzing things, but during the recent training, when we go in breaks, we were asked to write whatever questions we have for our teacher, Ramaswamy, and then all these questions range from yoga to his personal life and many different subjects that we feel like we want to ask him. And then at one point, I think someone wrote down like, do you know, or would you happen to know a yogi? Because in India we don't just use the term yogi like how we do here. Like everyone who practices yoga is a yogi.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, yogi is someone who's achieved samadhi, or at least who's an enlightened mind to be called through the path of yoga. So that's a yogi. So it's not just like someone who goes to the studio.
The gym, yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, and then as profound as he is, Ramaswamy just said, "Oh, how does that help you in your path?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, knowing that, how does that help you in your path personally? So that's basically how I've been approaching this situation that we are in right now. So if it doesn't help me like get healthier, or maybe find a cure, or help someone to be healthier, then normally I just let it go. It's like that's why I've been staying away from social media recently.
Beautiful.
It's like,
Well,
okay,
thanks for breaking your social media, to let
no,
us
I'm
in.
not against social media, but I still go on it once in a while. It's just that, yeah, as you said, I filter,
Yeah.
you know.
Good.
So if I don't feel like it helps me, or it helps me help someone else, then I let it go, you know. And yeah, I think
that's great.
it's
That's really, I mean, so many people have so many opinions about everything, and pointing fingers, and it's just ridiculous.
not to mention the conspiracy theories that so,
no, I mean, good for you for not contributing to that, to the fear and all that.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I think it's been, I'm sorry to say this, but I think I'm enjoying this or maybe it's also because I haven't really fully reintegrated into society yet since I came back, because it was just barely a week since I came back and we were on lockdown. So I was like, usually when I come back from the trip, I just go antisocial for a week or two before I reintegrate with society. And yeah, I think that's why it's been easy for me as well. And it's easy to create that routine, and just being more mindful, and everything's just so fresh for now. And hopefully it stays that way.
No, I feel the same way. I'm feeling very, very peaceful in a way that I haven't in the past. And there was a time where I felt like I needed to hide it because of the noise around, and I felt like it was inappropriate or it was maybe offensive. But now I've come to terms with that, and I feel like we shouldn't be apologizing for feeling peaceful, and actually we should be helping each other get to that place and embracing it. So because who knows when we'll have this opportunity again ever to come inside for this undetermined length of time. So yeah, I can totally relate. Yeah. So let's
Yeah, and it's good that you got your practice going
I
and
know.
it looks like everything's going for you right now as well.
Yeah, well. Yeah. All right. Is there anything you want to share before we part ways and anything
Yeah,
else?
I'm doing along with you and many other people from the community. I'm doing a class today as well at 3, a short pranayam class for the Earth Day celebrations.
Nice.
And yeah, I'd like to invite whoever gets to see this. If this gets no, this not. This isn't posted until tomorrow. But anyway, I'm doing I'm doing a pranayam class at 3 later, and maybe I'll probably do some classes as well. But for
So
now,
if it's a public class, send me the link. I'll share it. I'll share it.
yeah. Sure. It's one of those events from the event from the Earth Day event.
Okay.
So
Oh yeah. Earth Day.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you. I
thank you, Wendy. So nice to catch up with you
nice to
and
connect.
everyone
Yeah.
else in the community. Hang loose, breathe.
Exactly.
Don't forget to breathe. Breathe.
When naturalized alternative. All right. Thank you. Take
Wendy, thank you.
care. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.